What is up, people? It is MewMonster50. Welcome back to another video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Constructicon Bonecrusher, the second Constructicon out of the full six that we are going to be getting for this new Devastator. The next one, I believe, is going to be Hook and Long Haul in the Commander class price point, so that's going to be very interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to that as well. But first off, we obviously have Bonecrusher here. So taking a look at the box here, you can see the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers the movie, you got Constructicon Bonecrusher. You do have the nice artwork here of Bonecrusher, and then you do have like the 2 of 6 here, obviously. 2 of 6 of the 6 Constructicons needed to make Devastator. We have 16 steps. More nice stuff here on the side, the Transformers Studio Series Deluxe class. Then you have more nice artwork here, particularly of Devastator, and this silver symbol to signify that you are getting a transformer that can combine. And then finally, your obligatory product shots transforms in 16 steps, and he looks really, really solid. And then you do have the nice screen cap there of Devastator in the 86 movie. But yeah, with that all out of the way, as per usual, I think Hasbro kills it with the packaging. And so without further ado, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Constructicon Bonecrusher out and in his construction vehicle mode, and I gotta say, he looks really, really good. This is, unfortunately, probably the better of his modes, because this is extremely accurate. Like, there's really nothing here that is much different from the actual on-screen model that we saw in the animation. And so when we're taking a look at this thing, he is very green. But like I said with Scrapper, this is the green that they were. Unfortunately, this bright neon green, even if you don't like it, it's accurate to how it was. Now, does it look good in person? Yeah, I think it looks great in person, and I'm personally a fan of it. It's obviously weird in the real world to see neon green construction vehicles like this color, but at the end of the day, it still looks really, really solid. You can see the nice Decepticon logo, and thankfully it is outlined, so it's pretty easy to see. The contrast definitely helps. So nice black here. The one thing I will say about this vehicle mode, though, is that a little bit of the detail does get a little bit lost because he is so neon green. But once you have this guy in hand, it's definitely better, but definitely on camera, you can definitely see, like, it's not as easy to make out the details, although in my opinion it does look good. One thing we're going to show here is his gun, so you do have the ability to store that on the vehicle mode. So you have 5mm ports up here. But here's the gun, and it looks really, really solid. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's accurate to how it was. Nicely molded, good detail overall, nice size, very accurate to how he had it in the show. So overall, I had nothing to complain about, and so we'll set that off to the side here. But yeah, when it comes to this vehicle mode, I mean, is there really anything to complain about? No. Is it incredibly amazing? No. Is it bad at all? Not by any stretch of the imagination. It is just accurate to how it was in the show, and that's all it needs to be, and it's really, really solid on that respect. So, as per usual, what we're going to do is we are going to set this guy off to the side here and do our size comparisons. Alrighty guys, here he is with the usual Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnus. As you can see, these two do look really solid together, but they are average deluxe size. If you take a look here, I'm sure Bonecrusher is a little bit maybe less chunky. They're about-ish the same width at the end of the day, but overall, when it comes to the sizing, Bonecrusher is an average deluxe size in his vehicle mode, and so is Magnus, and so there's nothing to complain about with that respect. Alrighty folks, and here he is with the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Constructicon Scrapper, the leader of the Constructicons, and this is where people are going to have a bit of an issue. Definitely when it comes to the sizing, these two are about the same, and it's going to throw a lot of people off because, again, you have a Voyager class figure in the back here next to a Deluxe class figure here as well, but it's just, what I will say is that he is girthy, and when you put these guys in hand and you're sort of weighing them, Scrapper has a significant amount more weight, in my opinion, than when it comes to a Bonecrusher here. And so at the end of the day, despite the fact that he is about the same size as Scrapper in his vehicle mode, this is accurate to the show. And in addition to that, Scrapper does feel a bit heftier. And the main reason I'm going to tell you that they put Scrapper in that Voyager class price point, just like it did in the actual review, which, by the way, if you'd like to see the review for Scrapper, link in the upper right, is mainly due to the fact that they added that ankle joint in. That is really the reason why this guy has a Voyager class price point, is because of that ankle joint. Now, that's not the only reason, but the main reason, because they needed the budget to fit that in and make it a really tight ratchet joint, considering that when it comes to Scrapper being the right foot of Devastator, to have that for a combiner, you want it to last a long time, you want it to be tight for a long time, and so of course they're going to do that for this figure. And so you might not necessarily agree with the sizing, but it's accurate to the show, and there is a sizable amount of heft more in comparison to Bonecrusher. Alrighty, folks, with that all out of the way, it's time to get into the transformation, which really isn't all too bad. This guy's pretty simple, but it's not like levels of slingshot and air raid simple, but it's pretty simple. So, first thing I like to do, take the bucket, and then you can pull that forward. Then you can take the legs, and you can untab them and swing them down, and you can sort of rotate this around, and then untab this and rotate it around as well. Take the arms, or what will become the arms, and then you can lift them up a bit, and then split them like so. Rotate them around like this, and then you can stretch them out like this for the time being. Take this part, flip it up like so, and then you can take the head, and then you can fold that out as well. I'm actually going to bring this up a fair bit, just so you guys can see it a bit better. This up a fair bit, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take this section and just rotate it all the way in like this. Then you can take this section, rotate it down, and then take the bucket section, and you'll see that there's a tab here and there's a tab hole right there. You're just going to want to push that in, and that's his upper body essentially transformed like that. Then you can rotate the legs down here. Then you can take this section, and this just folds onto the back like so. Remember to fold that down. Then take these. You can rotate. Oh, sorry, you don't have to rotate them around like so. You can just do this. Fold the feet out like so. Then you can take the arms, fold them out like so. Rotate them around, then rotate them around like so. So again, fold them out like so. Rotate them around and down, then rotate them around like so. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Bonecrusher in his really cool-looking robot mode. Alrighty guys, and when it comes to his robot mode, this is where I do have a little bit of an issue, and it's not really in the fact of how he actually looks. The details are actually all there. The head looks great, the actual details on the body are just fine. The main issue I have is the proportions, and this guy should be skinnier. Now granted, it does result in a very good looking vehicle mode, but the robot mode is a bit chunky. Now, for me, I do like the accuracy with my figures. And so at the end of the day, even though that this is something that I will complain about personally, I've seen other reviewers not complain about it. Like I know that Toy Guy in his review said he likes the chunky nature, and I respect that. Just for me, I would have preferred him to be a little bit skinnier. I don't know if there's any way for them to maybe do that, maybe have some like a way that the bucket could fold in a little bit, and sure, that would add a little bit of panels, a little bit of budgeting, and maybe they'd have to take away from something else. But definitely, in terms of the actual proportions of the robot mode, it is a bit chunky. It's a bit wider than he should be. But overall, like I said, all the details are there. And so taking a look at the details, you can see the head sculpt is really, really awesome. I mean, look at the silver, the red for the visor, the chin. Everything is there, and it looks fantastic. Nice Decepticon logo here. You do get the nice detailing here that you don't see normally in vehicle mode, so really, really cool there. The only other issue I'd say I'd have is the arms. They do look flat, very similar to Slingshot, I think it was. Slingshot had the same issue where, like, from certain angles, his arms are going to look really, really funky because they're just very flat. I wish there was a little bit more definition in them, but I get why they made it like that. And the legs are obviously just the treads. But it's nice that they do hide the knee joints in there so that you don't have to actually see them. There's one other thing that I have an issue with when it comes to the articulation, but obviously we'll get into that later. And so overall, when it comes to this guy, also for the backpack, I'll say that it certainly has a backpack, but it's not obtrusive at all. It's not nothing crazy. I don't think it's that bad. And obviously, if you guys don't get it, this is what it's going to be used to combine him. Now, for this guy, unlike Scrapper, there is no instructions that he has. Well, Scrapper didn't have them either, but from what I've seen online is this guy, no one has been able to sort of figure out how Bonecrusher transforms to fit inside of Devastator. Now, there's obviously an idea, especially if you have the CW one, but this is a whole new Devastator with, it's new sizing, new plastic, and I'll say, like Scrapper, the one thing about this figure that's really, really nice is he does feel infinitely better than the CW figures. So the plastic is really nice, feels pretty dense, he's got some good heft to him for a deluxe class figure. Like I said, even though Scrapper still has some heft on him, overall, when it comes to the plastic quality, the feel, this figure does feel great. All the joints feel really, really nice, and that is one thing that we were missing from the CW Devastator, is that he was just like, the individual figures just felt terrible. The only reason you have them is to combine them, and so it was a shame that when you tried to mess with them individually, you're just like, this sucks, right? But this guy, I disagree with that, and I think that these new Constructicons are really going to hammer home that individually these figures are also very good, or at least relatively good in terms of their quality, their joints, everything like that. So that's a really big upgrade, in my opinion, in comparison to the CW stuff. So what we're going to do is we are going to set this guy off to the side here and do our comparisons. Alrighty folks, here he is with the Transformers Legacy United and Infernac Universe Deluxe Class Magnius. As you can see, these two are average deluxe size, and so what I will say though is Bonecrusher is a little bit taller, but you do have, and they're both chunky, they're both about the same width. Overall though, when it comes to Bonecrusher, I really can't complain about his sizing here in this comparison, but with this next one, you guys will there'll definitely be people that complain about this. Alrighty, folks, and here he is with the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Scrapper. And unfortunately, yeah, he is a little bit taller than Scrapper, literally by like a hair. He's a hair taller than Scrapper, but like I told you, when you feel these guys in hand, Scrapper has a significant amount more weight in comparison to Bonecrusher, so really that extra weight that they have with that ankle joint, that ratchet joint that he has, really does add a lot to it, and there's a little bit more paint when it comes to Scrapper as well. Scrapper has that silver, the red, the purple, all looks way better, but the issue I still have with Scrapper is that he has hollow bits. I wish they would have filled in those hollow bits, but when it comes to how these two do look together, they look really good together. Now it's obviously awkward to have your leader a little bit smaller than one of your subordinates, right? But at the end of the day, these two scaled about the same height anyway, so I'm not really complaining too much because all the Constructicons are about the same height anyway. So Bonecrusher being a hair taller really doesn't bother me all that much, and still when you look at these two together, it makes me want the whole squad even more. Alrighty folks, it's time to get into the articulation, and this is where this figure falters in one area, and you guys can probably guess where it is because Scrapper shares the same fault. So the head is on the ball joint, or swivel, but you can do a full 360, which is nice, but because of the transformation, you can look up and down, which is really nice. So you have some decent up, you have some decent down as well, which is really cool. Then these shoulders, what's cool about them is you have this transformation joint, so you can actually articulate like this, so if you're getting certain angles, it's really cool that you can do that, and that's a little bit annoying there, but there we go. Full 360 here because it's a ball joint up and down, your rotation there at the elbow, and then you can obviously bend. And then if you extend this a little bit more forward, or if you decide to swap the arm all the way around like this, you can get even more bend rather than just 90. So just depends on how you do. But there, yeah, you can get a teeny bit past 90. So it's still pretty cool. Nice articulation there. But this is where this figure falters. Shares it with Scrapper. No waist. Not at all. And I get it because of how this is designed, but you still technically do, but you have to flip it down, and obviously that just looks terrible. It obviously just removes it removes his chest completely, so without that waist joint, like, with that attached, it really sucks, and it feels bad. I wish they might have found a different way to do it, but I get why. It hurts with the individual. Now, again, when it comes to this figure, more than likely people will only have these in their individual modes until they get the full set. So, of course, you're going to more than likely have this guy in this full combined mode, so this waist joint really won't matter. But as an individual figure, I have to call it out. For the legs, though, you can kick forward, you can kick back, really far on both ends. You do have out here, you have a rotation of the upper part of the thigh, and then you have 90 here at the knee. And then ankle rocker is really solid as well, so you can get the splits with this guy, which is really sick. So in terms of dynamic poses, this guy can actually hold some decent ones pretty well. And so here's the splits, and so that's really cool. Any figure that can do the splits like this is always a win in my book. And the only issue, like I said, with the articulation really is just that waist joint. To actually use the waist joint, it's not that he actually doesn't have one, it's just in the way that he should be in his robot mode, like correct looking, there's no way to use it correctly. Alrighty, folks, and the one thing I forgot to show was his accessory in his robot mode. You can just plug it into his hand. You got that 5mm in his on the actual gun, and then his fist is a 5mm, so you can plug that in, and you can see it looks great. But time to get into the reverse transformation, which is just as simple as getting him to robot mode. So remove this. Then what I like to do is to rotate the arm around, and then you can flip it. And what you'll notice is that there's a tab right there, and then there's a tab hole right there, and you just flip it like this, and you can just keep it like this for now. Sometimes lining this up is a bit annoying. You have to like push forward a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Then do the same thing on this side. So rotate this all the way around. Then plug that forward, and then you can just push it a bit forward and push down, and then this should land into place. So leave it like this for now. Take the bucket, fold that down. Take the head and fold that down as well. Then you can undo this and rotate it around. Straighten out the legs as well. Fold down the feet. Get that out of the way. You can split them a little bit here, and then take the arms, and you want to rotate them like this so that the pegs are facing up. Then you can fold them in back like so, then rotate them around. And I like to bend this a bit forward just so you can get some clearance for that. So again, you rotate this around like so. bend this a bit forward so you get some clearance. Peg these together, then peg that all together like so. Then take this and you can rotate it up. Then you can see that there are tabs there, so you just kind of push them in, make sure they line up a little bit. Fold this down, and then you'll see that there are essentially tab holes here on the side and tab on there, and then basically you just line these all up and these should tab into place relatively nicely. Just make sure you got them straight. Some tabs there. This is probably the most annoying part, is just lining up these tabs. There you go. Once you have the one side lined up, lining up the other side is not hard. And then take the bucket, and all you gotta do is fold it down here, or fold it down like this, fold it up, and then fold this down. And there you go. Then what I like to do is tab with the gun in here, because it actually doesn't look bad. One of the first times in a while that vehicle mode weapon storage doesn't look terrible. But with that all out of the way, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Constructicon Bonecrusher back in his really cool looking construction vehicle mode. And so guys, for my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Constructicon Bonecrusher, this guy is pretty solid. I mean, I have nothing really against this figure in particularly bad. It's a pretty average, like, good figure. Like, it's just plain out good. But that doesn't leave it without its flaws. This guy's detail gets a bit lost in the fact that he's primarily just this neon green color, and there's not really that much color separation. In addition to that, the lack of a waist joint, at least in a reasonable sense, really does suck. And for both of these first two Constructicons to not have a waist joint, I understand that it is mainly because of the combined mode, but at the end of the day, it does still suck. Like you can't deny that when you're posing a figure, having that waist joint is a real help, and this guy not having it really does suck. But when it comes to the rest of the figure, I do think that the vehicle mode is amazingly accurate. It's really compact and it feels really good. Transformation isn't too frustrating at all. Nice and simple to get him to his robot mode. And when you get to his robot mode, the other thing I'll say is that the proportions, although he is chunky, he still does look good. All the details are there that need to be there. The backpack is not obtrusive. His accessory stores nicely on his vehicle mode and works well in his robot mode. And when it comes to his sizing, sure, you would more or less complain about Scrapper because he's the Voyager here, even though he is a bit taller than Scrapper. These two scale relatively well with each other in terms of the fact that, like, all the Constructicons are basically about the same size anyway when it came to their height, and so Bonecrusher being a hair taller than Scrapper, despite him being his leader, really doesn't bother me all that much. And like I said, when it comes to Scrapper, you definitely feel there is a significant amount more weight when it comes to Scrapper in comparison to Bonecrusher. And so, despite all those flaws and everything like that, I still think that this is a good and solid figure, and so I'm probably going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really solid figure. I would recommend picking it up, especially if you want this new Devastator. I would personally recommend getting this now, and I would recommend getting this Devastator, because this Devastator, at least indicative of how these figures are going, these two have higher plastic quality, they have tighter joints, it feels like these will last longer, and the sizing is not as huge, and so you'll have a bit more room to play around with displaying and stuff like that. And so before these get too expensive, would highly recommend you pick this up if you want like a really nice Devastator in your collection, because I don't see how this Devastator, in my opinion, could be really bad at all, considering the first two figures that we've gotten. And so, guys, I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store. I did not pick mine up IRL, funnily enough. I was about to pick it up IRL, but then when I found it at my local Walmart, funnily enough, I already had it on the way from Big Bad Toy Store, so I didn't decide to do that, to buy it there. But it is hitting your local retailers now, so definitely be on the lookout, and I wish you the best of luck in hunting IRL if you do decide to go that route. But like I said, as per usual, I did pick mine up on Big Bad Toy Store, so leave link down there for that, as well as Amazon, and has a Repulse if you decide to go to those other retailers. Those are usually what I buy from. And so yeah, I think that's really it for the review. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends, and also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.